I sat in my car for a long time before I even touched the door handle. The neighborhood looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. Not to me. The little white house on the corner still had the same wind chime on the porch, crooked and rusty, and the same flower beds my mother used to fuss over every Saturday morning. It should have felt comforting. But instead, the sight of it twisted something tight in my chest. I was parked exactly where I used to wait for the school bus, just past the cracked sidewalk where my brother once broke his arm trying to skateboard down the incline. I remembered how my sister would sit on the porch railing, pretending to be aloof, braiding and unbraiding her hair while spying on the neighbors. All of that was years ago. A different lifetime. Now I was back. And this time, I wasn't here for a holiday or a visit. I wasn't here to make peace or play nice. I was here with answers. The leather folder on my lap felt heavier than it should have, just papers, really. Thin sheets that could burn in a second. But what they held, that was something else entirely. I'd spent months gathering everything. Every receipt, every transaction, every document no one thought I'd notice, every lie that grew louder with silence. And now I was ready. I stepped out of the car slowly, locking the door behind me with a hollow beep. The cold air nipped at my coat as I made my way up the stone path. I paused at the porch steps, remembering how many times I'd run up and down them barefoot, scraped knees and all. But this time, I moved carefully, as if every step might collapse under the weight of what I carried. The front door was unlocked. That was the first surprise. It creaked open with a familiar groan, and the warmth inside hit me like a wave. Chicken broth, rosemary, and something faintly sweet. It smelled like comfort, like deception. I closed the door gently behind me and stood in the foyer. The lights were on in the kitchen. I could hear voices, laughter, the clink of glasses, as if nothing had happened, as if I hadn't been erased. I moved slowly down the hallway, my heels muffled by the old runner rug. I passed the living room, dimly lit and untouched. The same sofa with the mismatched throw pillows. The same framed photo above the fireplace of the three of us kids. Mira in pigtails, Jason grinning with a missing front tooth, and me, somewhere in the middle, smiling like I didn't know better yet. The laughter was louder now. Closer. I stepped into the kitchen. They were all there. Mira, perched casually on the counter like she owned it, coffee mug in hand, legs swinging. Jason leaned against the fridge, arms folded, a smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. My mother stood by the sink, drying dishes with slow, practiced movements. And my father, of course, was at the stove, stirring something with the same calm precision he used to fix broken things around the house. They looked up when they saw me. No one said a word. No one moved. I walked past them, silent, deliberate, and placed the leather folder on the kitchen island, the very same island where we used to roll out cookie dough on Christmas Eve, where my mother once bandaged my finger after I cut it on a can of peaches, where secrets had been whispered and now, where truths would be laid bare. I didn't say anything yet. Not right away. I just looked at each of them, and they looked back like they didn't recognize me, like I wasn't the girl they'd turned their backs on. But I was. I was her, and I was done being quiet. No one moved. Not right away. I stood there, the folder resting between us like a loaded weapon. My fingers hovered over the clasp, but I didn't open it yet. I wanted them to sit in the silence first, to feel the weight of it, to wonder, maybe even hope, that this was just a visit, that I'd come back like some estranged relative with a peace offering. But they should have known better. Mira was the first to break eye contact. She slid off the counter, mug still in hand, and busied herself pretending to sip it. I noticed how her hands trembled ever so slightly, barely noticeable unless you were looking. Jason's expression didn't change, but his eyes narrowed, calculating. My father stared into the pot he was stirring, as if willing it to give him an excuse to focus on anything else. And my mother, she kept drying the same plate over and over again, the towel twisting between her hands like a nervous tick. I finally spoke. "Interesting," I said, and the word landed like a drop of ink in water. "No one asks why I'm here." That made my mother glance up, guilt flashing behind her eyes before she quickly looked away. Myra's jaw tightened. "You didn't exactly call ahead," Jason said, and I heard the thin layer of sarcasm beneath his voice. I tilted my head, almost amused. "Neither did you." When you made your decisions. His smirk faltered just slightly. I unzipped the folder slowly, deliberately, and laid it open on the island. The sound was sharp in the silence. I didn't pull out anything yet. Just let them look at it. My mother took a step forward, almost instinctively, but stopped when my father put a hand lightly on her arm. I'm not here to fight, I said quietly. I'm here to show you what you refuse to see. Jason exhaled like he was already bored, but Mira had gone very still. She hadn't looked at me since I walked in. Rachel, my mother said finally, her voice strained. Maybe this isn't the time. There wasn't time when you accused me. I interrupted, still calm, but my voice had a sharpness now. There wasn't time when you locked me out. When you changed the passwords. When you told the rest of the family that I'd, what was it? Taken advantage of Mom's condition. Silence. Again. Then Mira muttered, we thought we were protecting her. From me. I said softly. Or from the truth. I pulled out the first page. It was a printed still from a security camera, grainy, time-stamped, but clear enough. Mira, in dark sunglasses, leaning across a bank counter. I slid it across the island. October 10th, I said. Withdrawal. 20,000. In person. Not online. Not me. Mira didn't touch it. Her mouth opened, then closed. Jason stepped forward. Where did you get that? The bank, I replied, still calm. After Mom's attorney called and said they'd be pressing charges if I didn't return the money. I asked for the footage. I had to petition for it. I had to file a statement. I had to drive 2 hours to the branch manager's office. But I got it. No one spoke. I laid down the second photo. Jason this time. Different branch. Smiling. Handing over a check. October 15th, I said. 15,000. Deposited into a new account. Under a shell company registered in your name. Jason's face darkened. You're twisting this. You don't know the whole story. You're right, I said, cutting him off. I don't. Because no one told me. You just let them believe it was me. Mira crossed her arms. You went through our things. I looked at her, and for the first time, I felt nothing but a strange, distant clarity. You went through Mom's. My mother finally stepped closer, her face pale. She reached for the documents slowly, hands unsteady. She scanned the page, and then looked up at me. But the bank said it was online, she whispered. That's what they told us. They told you what they assumed, I said. The withdrawal was in person. The online access came after. Through the tablet you keep on the coffee table. The one always connected to the house Wi-Fi. The access was linked to an email address tied to Jason's phone number. I confirmed it with a recovery protocol. My father stopped stirring. The air felt different now. Heavy. Dense. Like before a storm. Jason stared at the floor. Myra's grip on her mug was white-knuckled. You let me think I stole from you, my mother said quietly. Her voice was thin, fragile. She wasn't looking at Jason or Mira. Maybe not even at me. You told me not to come home, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. And you never asked if I did it. That's what hurt the most. Not the accusation. Not the threats. The absence of a question. Mira looked up at me finally, and her face wasn't filled with guilt. It was bitterness. You always got everything, she spat. The job, the praise, the respect. I just wanted to level the field. I studied her for a long moment. You didn't level it, I said softly. You burned it. Jason snorted. She'll be fine, Mom. Rachel makes more than all of us combined. It wasn't personal. I let out a slow breath. It's always personal when it's family. My mother slowly sank into the chair at the table. The folder lay open in front of her like a confession. Her hands dropped into her lap, palms up, as if she didn't know what to do with them anymore. Finally, my father spoke. Rachel, he said, voice low, what are you going to do? I met his eyes. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the child in the room. I'm not pressing charges, I said, but I sent everything to the family attorney. You can decide what to do with it. He nodded once. Slowly, like something inside him had caved in. I zipped the folder shut. My hands know how to do this, I said quietly. Muscle memory. All those years of reports, investigations, interviews. This time it wasn't work. It was family. That's what made it worse. I turned to leave. You told me not to come back, I said. Unless I returned the money. I opened the front door. I didn't take the money, but I brought the truth. I paused at the doorway. Thanksgiving's over, I said without turning around. You all made sure of that. And then I stepped out into the cold. I didn't drive off right away. Instead, I sat in my car on the curb across the street, engine off, hands still on the steering wheel, watching the house through the windshield. The lights were still on in the kitchen. I could see their silhouettes moving behind the curtains, 3 vague shapes in slow motion. No one came to the door. No one followed me out. And in a way, that silence, it told me more than their words ever had. A porch light flickered once, then held steady. I thought for a moment maybe someone would step out. Maybe Mira would run after me with a fake apology. Maybe Jason would call out something pathetic and defensive. Or maybe my mother would do what she used to do when I scraped my knee as a child, wrap me in a kitchen towel and whisper it would all be okay. But no one came. They stayed inside, where it was warm, where shame and excuses could be spoken in low voices, where no one had to look at me anymore. I watched until the silhouettes disappeared, one by one. First Jason, then Mira. My mother sat at the table the longest, unmoving. Eventually, even she faded into shadow. Only then did I start the car. I didn't drive home right away. I didn't feel ready to return to a space where the walls knew me too well. I drove instead toward the harbor, parking near the quiet pier where people usually fished on early mornings. Now it was empty, save for a few rusted boats swaying gently in the dark water. I rolled the window down and let the November air bite my skin. My hands were shaking now. Not from fear. Not even from sadness. From rage. A slow, seeping kind. The kind that settles into your chest like frost. That doesn't make you cry, just makes you colder. What they did, it wasn't a misunderstanding. It had been a choice. They chose to believe I was capable of stealing from our mother. That I would drain her savings, manipulate her accounts, betray everything she taught us about trust. And they didn't just think it quietly. They acted on it. Froze me out. Spread whispers to cousins. Closed every door behind me without bothering to check if I deserved exile. And they never once asked why I would do such a thing. Because they didn't need a reason. They just needed a scapegoat. Back in Boston, the city lights felt different. Sharper. Colder. I returned to work the next day like nothing had happened. My coworkers didn't notice the change. Or maybe they did, but didn't say anything. I stopped checking the family group chat. Didn't call on Sunday night. Let the voicemail icon sit blinking for 3 days before I finally listened to it. It was from my mother. Rachel, we were wrong. I see that now. I didn't want to believe it. I'm sorry. A pause. I don't expect you to forgive us. I just wanted you to know. The house feels empty. She hung up before the minute mark. I didn't call back. 2 weeks passed. Then a letter came. Real paper, real envelope, the kind people rarely bother with anymore. I knew the handwriting before I even opened it. Inside was a photo. Me, Jason, and Mira, ages 6, 8, and 10, sitting on the back porch in mismatched Halloween costumes. I was dressed as a scarecrow, with hay poking out of my sleeves and a crooked hat. Mira wore tinfoil wings and glitter-smeared cheeks, her smile toothy and lopsided. Jason had smeared red paint all over his arms and chest. He claimed he was a zombie, but it mostly looked like he'd lost a ketchup fight. On the back of the photo, in my mother's shaky handwriting, was one line. Asterisk, we didn't know how much we'd miss you until you were gone. Asterisk, no signature, no explanation. I stared at the photo for a long time. I didn't cry. I couldn't. It was too late for that, and too early for forgiveness. According to my cousin Leah, one of the few who hadn't picked sides, both Mira and Jason had moved out of the house within a week of my visit. Mira went to stay with a friend in New Hampshire. Jason rented a place in town. My mother, apparently, told them she needed space. Space. That word again. I didn't ask for details. I didn't want to know if they left voluntarily or if she told them to go. I wasn't sure which would hurt more. Instead, I started building something new. Something that couldn't be taken away with a lie or a family vote. I reached out to the local community college, where I sometimes lectured on fraud prevention. I proposed a weekend seminar financial literacy for older adults, protecting assets, identifying scammers, securing online accounts. They said yes. The class met every Saturday in a sunlit room with dusty blinds and creaky chairs. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine, a space where I could take what I'd lived through and give it purpose. One Saturday, after class, a woman in her 70s came up to me. She wore a faded red coat and orthopedic shoes, her hair tucked under a knit cap. "I wish I had a daughter like you," she said gently. I smiled. Didn't say what I was thinking, so did mine. By December, I realized something strange. I didn't miss the family as much as I missed the idea of them. The version of them I'd carried in my mind since childhood. Holiday mornings and road trips and sleepy backyard barbecues. That imaginary warmth had shielded me from a colder truth, that loyalty in our family was transactional. And I had run out of credit. There was no tree that year. No calls. No ornament exchange. The house remained silent. Mira didn't reach out. Jason stayed invisible. My mother sent one more letter around New Year's. A plain card with a printed quote inside. Asterisk, grief isn't always about death. Sometimes it's about love that survived too long. Asterisk, nothing else. I kept the folder. It wasn't in my office, not on display. I tucked it into a drawer under old tax returns and utility receipts. I hadn't opened it since that night. I didn't need to. The facts hadn't changed. But something else had, something I hadn't named yet. And I had a feeling that silence from the house wasn't the end of a story. Not by a long shot. Winter deepened around me like a thick, unrelenting fog. The days shortened, the evenings stretched longer, and still, the silence from my family's house echoed louder than any words ever could. I kept my routine at the community college seminar. Teaching older adults about financial scams felt important, urgent, even, as if I was trying to protect others from the kind of betrayal I'd survived. But every Saturday, when the class ended and the room emptied, I'd catch myself staring at the door longer than usual, wondering what kind of silence had settled over my family for good. One afternoon, a week before Christmas, I found an email in my inbox from an unfamiliar address. The subject line was simple, asterisk for Rachel. Asterisk. My heart skipped. I hesitated before opening it. The message was short, almost clinical. Asterisk Rachel, you don't know me, but I've been following what's happened with your family. There are things you need to know, things they haven't told you. Please meet me at the Willow Cafe tomorrow at noon. Come alone, asterisk. No signature. No name. A chill ran down my spine. I stared at the screen, the cursor blinking patiently. Was this some kind of cruel joke? Or a trap? Yet something inside me stirred, a mixture of hope and dread. I hadn't heard a new lead in weeks. Could this be the break I needed? The next day, I sat in a corner booth at the Willow, a small cafe 2 blocks from the college. Outside, snow fell thick and fast, frosting the windows with delicate patterns. I watched as people hurried past, their breath clouding in the cold air. Then a woman entered. She was older, but not elderly. Her hair was silver, cut short with an almost military precision. Her eyes, sharp, assessing, settled on me immediately. She slid into the seat across from me without waiting for an invitation. "Rachel," she said quietly, "I'm glad you came." I nodded, unsure whether to trust her. "Who are you?" "My name is Evelyn. I used to work with your mother. A long time ago." I blinked, surprised. "With Mom? At the bank?" Evelyn shook her head. "No, not the bank. Something else." My pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" She glanced around, lowering her voice. "I can't tell you everything here, but there's a reason your family wanted to keep you away. It's bigger than money, bigger than stolen funds or misunderstandings." I swallowed hard. "What are you talking about?" Evelyn leaned in closer. "Your mother's accounts were just the tip of the iceberg. There's a pattern, one that connects to people you never suspected. People who are still watching." My mind raced. Was this about the stolen money? Or something else entirely? "I know you don't trust me," Evelyn said. "And I don't blame you. But if you want to get to the truth, you have to listen. And be careful." I nodded slowly, heart pounding. Then she handed me a small envelope, worn at the edges. Inside are copies of documents and photos. Things your family tried to bury. Go through them carefully. And Rachel, she paused, eyes serious. Don't trust anyone. Before I could respond, she stood and slipped away into the snowy afternoon. Sitting alone, the cafe suddenly felt colder. I opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside were faded photographs, a group picture from years ago, a few blurry snapshots of people I recognized and others I didn't, and photocopied papers filled with names, dates, and bank codes. One photo made me gasp. It was taken at a charity gala years before I'd left home. There, standing beside my mother, was a man I'd never seen before. Sharp suit, unsettling smile. The kind of smile that hides secrets. I flipped the paper over. Written in messy handwriting was a single name, Marcus Wilder. The name meant nothing to me, but something told me it meant everything. As snow swirled outside the window, I realized the story I thought I knew was unraveling fast. And now, I was right in the middle of it. The night after my meeting with Evelyn, sleep evaded me like a shadow slipping through a cracked door. My mind kept returning to that name, Marcus Wilder, and the mysterious man smiling in the old photograph. Who was he? What connection did he have to my mother? And why had no one ever mentioned him? I sat at my small kitchen table, the envelope from Evelyn open before me. The photos felt like relics from a different life, a puzzle begging to be solved. I started with the papers, photocopies of bank transactions, legal documents, even snippets of emails. The handwriting on some notes matched my mother's. Others were unfamiliar, scribbled quickly, almost as if someone was trying to cover their tracks. Something else caught my eye, an address scrawled on a torn piece of paper. It was a warehouse on the outskirts of town, a place I'd never heard of. The next morning, I decided to visit. I told myself it was curiosity, a need for answers. But deep down, I knew it was something more, a compulsion, a desire to confront whatever ghosts haunted my family's past. The warehouse was tucked behind a row of dilapidated buildings, the kind of place that time forgot. Rusty metal doors hung unevenly on their hinges, and the scent of oil and dust filled the air. I hesitated at the entrance, heart pounding. Was this a mistake? What if someone was watching? Taking a deep breath, I pushed the door open. Inside, the warehouse was dark, filled with crates and broken machinery. The light from my phone's flashlight cut through the gloom, revealing scrawled graffiti on the walls and shattered windows. As I moved deeper, my footsteps echoed, swallowed by the vast emptiness. Then I found it. A small desk tucked in a corner, papers strewn across it. Among them was a folder labeled Wilder Enterprises. I flipped it open and discovered detailed financial records, transfers, invoices, contracts. Many were linked to companies I'd never heard of. Others had familiar names. My mother's signature appeared repeatedly, but with strange annotations beside them. Suddenly, a noise behind me made me spin around. A man stood in the shadows, tall, lean, eyes sharp and cold. My breath caught. "Who are you?" I demanded, voice steadier than I felt. He stepped forward slowly. "I've been expecting you, Rachel." "Expecting me? Why?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Because you're digging into things that some people want buried." "Like who?" I challenged, inching toward the exit. He shook his head. "Names won't help you. But know this, your family's secrets go deeper than you think. Marcus Wilder isn't just a name. He's a key, and if you keep going, you won't like what you find." My heart hammered as he turned and vanished into the shadows. I stumbled out of the warehouse, the cold night air hitting my face like a slap. Back in my apartment, I sat surrounded by papers and photographs, the weight of Evelyn's warnings settling over me. Who could I trust? What was real? The folder, the photos, the man in the warehouse, they all pointed to something far more dangerous than stolen money. Something that could destroy everything. And yet I couldn't stop. Because now, I was more than just the daughter who was accused. I was the only one who could uncover the truth. The next days blurred into a relentless chase, calls to old acquaintances, late-night document searches, every step pulling me deeper into the shadows of my family's past. Yet the pieces still refused to fit together. I couldn't stop thinking about Marcus Wilder. Who was he? Why did Evelyn say he was a key? And why did the man at the warehouse warn me off? Then, an unexpected call shattered the uneasy calm. Rachel? It's David. My heart clenched. David. My brother. The one who'd looked away when I revealed the truth. The one who refused to reach out after everything. What do you want? I asked, voice cold. We need to meet. I have something you need to see. It's about Mom and the money. A flash of hope. I agreed. We met at a small cafe, away from prying eyes. David slid a small envelope across the table. Inside was a letter, not typed, but handwritten, shaky but urgent. It was from my mother. She confessed everything. The missing money was never stolen by me. It was taken by Marcus Wilder, a man my mother trusted, who'd promised to protect our family's financial future. He'd used forged documents, manipulated signatures, and hidden accounts, all while casting suspicion on me. Mom's letter revealed a deeper betrayal. Marcus wasn't just a stranger. He was Dad's business partner and my parents' closest friend. When the truth started to surface, Marcus threatened to ruin them all unless my mother cut off contact with me. That was why she told me not to come home. That was why she never defended me. Tears burned my eyes as I read her words. The anger, the guilt, the desperation. David looked at me, his face pale. There's more, he said quietly. Marcus is gone. Disappeared a week ago. But the last thing he left behind, a recording. It explains everything. Back at my apartment, I played the file. Marcus's voice, cold and arrogant, filled the room. He admitted to orchestrating the entire scheme, not just to steal money, but to fracture our family. Divide and conquer, he sneered. Because when the family falls apart, they never look up. And then, the shock, a final admission. He revealed that my mother had secretly recorded one of their meetings, evidence that could exonerate me and bring Marcus to justice. But she'd hidden it, afraid of what the truth would do to us all. I sat back, stunned. Everything I'd endured, the silence, the accusations, the pain, was part of a cruel game. A game I was ready to win. The next morning, with the folder still in my drawer, I called Mom. Her voice was shaky but relieved. I'm sorry, Rachel. For everything. I know, I whispered. And it's time we fix this. Together. For the first time in years, the distance between us felt smaller. Because sometimes, the truth isn't just about what's stolen or lost. It's about what we're brave enough to face, and who we choose to become.